Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dugout Daily. I'm Charlie, and I'm joined by Bernard again. How are you, mate?
I'm fine, mate. Yeah, I've been looking forward to the weekend now, so I've tried to put last night's antagonisms out of the way and look forward to it. I'm sure a free-flowing game against Hasenhüttl Southampton, or perhaps not.
Yeah, maybe they'll do the exact same as they did in the Premier League game, same as Crystal Palace as well, and just part the bus. But we'll get on to the Palace game. 0-0. Just frustrating 90 minutes, weren't it?
Yeah, we were saying off air. I watched it, but I've just literally watched it back now. Obviously, I was there last night, and it's funny. I mean, Palace did have chances, and they perhaps had a couple more than I thought in the second half as well. We'll have a look at obviously the stats and stuff like that. But I thought generally they got what they wanted, at least a draw. They wouldn't have minded nicking a victory, but whichever means they can get it, Vieira set them out to do it. And the end of the day, on another day, a couple of inches a shot, one way or the other, and City would have won that game. And we certainly deserved to win the game. We did everything but score. And obviously, we'll go into the players individually. But I thought the team generally played pretty well. And watching it back, we played pretty well. Some mistakes, of course, there was. But it just wasn't our night, unfortunately. And these things happen. Hopefully, we don't get too many of them.
Yeah. And I know the Sporting game didn't exactly mean much, but that's now 2 0-0 draws in a row. So
I don't know what the stats are on that. I don't know if we've got any Peps stats on whether we've had 2 0-0s in a row. I don't know.
I'm not sure. But big up, Big Morgan and Chelsea fan. Both.
Hi, Big Morgan, Chelsea fan.
So we'll go to the team. It was unchanged from the win over United, with Ederson in goal, Walker, Stones, Laporte and Cancelo back four, Rodri, De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, with Mahrez on the right, Grealish on the left, with Foden in the false nine. What was your thoughts on the City team, Bernard?
Yeah, I mean, I picked that 11. I think I've seen sort of a couple of other guys on social media pick that 11 as well. So basically, it was just the United team, and given Fat Diaz was injured, it sort of picked itself. Perhaps apart from Sterling, that I thought Pep might have snuck in there somehow, but obviously with Grealish having a good game against United, obviously he stuck with him, didn't he? But I think most people would have said that as their 11. I don't think they would have seen many changes. And in theory, would you have seen Jesus and Gundogan being stuck in? Probably not. So, as I say, it was a reasonably easy pick to make.
Yeah. And I was just a bit shocked why he didn't make any subs during the game, but we'll get
I'll talk about that. I mean, he said it was because he didn't want to ruin the flow of the game, but isn't that what substitutions do? Again, it's just an excuse not to do something. While I was there, I must admit, I was thinking about 60 minutes, 65 minutes. I'm thinking, well, is anyone going to change it? Is Jesus in the form? Is Gundogan can Gundogan do anything to change it? Is Sterling in any sort of form? And I was sort of thinking, not really. I'll just carry on regardless. So I didn't, on reflection, it was probably would have done the same thing. I'm no Pep, but I probably would have done the same thing. But it does say a lot about what he thinks about the players on the bench. That's what it says. It tells them, I'm sorry, you're not good enough to do anything for this team. And that's a worrying aspect going into the last few games of a season, that is certain players might have at the back of the mind now. They're not quite good enough to be, we're ending up with about 11 to 12 players now because the other guys are being pissed off by Pep.
Yeah. And the Crystal Palace team, they were also in a 4-3-3 with Guaita in goal, a back four of former Liverpool man Nathaniel Klein, Anderson, Guehi and Tyreek Mitchell, with Gallagher, Kouyaté and Jeffrey Schlupp in the middle, Elise on the right, Zaha on the left, with Mateta up top. What did you think of the Palace team, Bernard?
Yeah, I mean, they're not a bad team, and they're not a great team, and that's why they're 10th in the league. They're an average team, and you've got players that can damage us. We know that. We saw that at the Etihad. I don't know how different that team was to the one that played at the Etihad earlier in the season. But Yeah, they've got players to worry, and they've not got the greatest defence. You should be able to breach that defence. I don't think it's the greatest defence. And I say Liverpool and Chelsea have beat them quite recently at their place. All right, they've been tight games. Certainly the Chelsea one was tight, wasn't it? The last couple of minutes, but they were good enough to get through them. We should have been good enough to get through that team.
Yeah, definitely. Big Morgan says no subs. He didn't want to waken Phil Foden up from his sleep.
You can always rely on Big Morgan to come out with the proper facts.
Yeah. We'll get on to the stats then. This could be frustrating, so just be wary as a City fan. 26% possession to 74, 7 shots to 18, 1 shot on target to 4, 5 shots off target to 8, 1 block shot to 6, 2 corners to 6, 2 offsides to 3, 6 fouls to 11, 3 yellow cards to 1, no big chances to 4, no big chances missed to 4. Palace didn't hit the woodwork. Cancelo hit the woodwork for us. 1 counter-attack to none. 1 counter-attack shot to none. 6 shots inside the box to 12. 1 shot outside the box to 6. 5 saves for Guaita. 1 for Edison. 269 passes to 764. 65% accurate passes to 87%. Sorry. 30% accurate long balls to 58%. No successful crosses to Palace to our 32%. 82% successful dribbles to 63%. 127 times Palace lost possession to our 154. 49 duels won to 56, 8 aerial duels won to 22, 16 tackles to 13, 8 interceptions to 9, and 32 clearances to 8. Do those stats represent the game, Bernard?
Yeah, probably a lot worse than it seemed. As I said on watch back, Palace looked a little bit more into it. Not much, obviously, but it didn't look as bad as it did on the basic stats. But one interesting stat for me when I was obviously I looked at the stats when I was doing my little review for my own little thing, and I think it was 18 shots and 4 on target. But at half time, I think we'd had 12 shots. So it's. For chasing a game in the second half, it's only had 14. I think we had 14. That was it. I think we had 14 according to the commentator when I was watching it back today. So we had 18. In other words, we only had 4 real attempts. I'm sure we had more than that. But either way, even if they got the stats mixed up just a little bit, the second half when we should have been really pummeling them, it wasn't, was it? I mean, they went deeper, of course. They defended deeper, and obviously we weren't perhaps getting the opportunities we got in the first half. But that is a telling stat, I think, Charlie. The fact that the second half we had far less chances than we did in the first half. When really, we took a rest in the first half. I think second half, hey, we've got to go for this, guys. Come on, and we just didn't.
Yeah, it was a frustrating watch for all City fans. And then the attack momentum looks like this. Palace with a few periods, but it's City domination again. Don't make our chances count. It just easy drop points, some would say. As you said before, Liverpool won at Palace, Chelsea won at Palace as well. And it's getting more likely for Liverpool to win the title each game we play, it seems like, at the moment.
Well, I think we've got 2 key games, Charlie. I mean, we're getting away from this one slightly, but you say we've got Burnley away, which, again, is a definite must. You pointed out that Liverpool could well, if they beat Arsenal, could well actually then be top of the league by the time we play Burnley away. So we've got to win that. And obviously, we'll be back on top by the next game, which is obviously Liverpool. So you've got 2 games there that will either ruin our season or put the momentum back our way. And that's what they'll do if we win them both. If we win both those, it'll give us, again, a psychological advantage, which at the moment stands with Liverpool. And I said to you before, we're always good chasing, but we're always good chasing from previously. We've never been in this position where we've been so comfortable at top and now all of a sudden we're behind. So it's a different psychological effect. So I think those next 2 games in the league, Massive. Well, they're all cup finals, Pep said, didn't he? But we cocked up the first one, didn't we, last night? So we've got another 9. But these two are Super Cup finals. These are World Cup, Galaxy Cup finals, and we got to win both them. And I think if we win both them, it'll point us back in the right direction. So I think we'll know in another 3 or 4 weeks what may happen with Liverpool and City.
Yeah. We got some more other stats and facts before we get on to the players. Starting with the half-time stats, 26% possession to 74, 3 shots to 14, 1 corner to 4, 91 accurate passes to 327, that being 69% accurate passes to 88%. So, as you said there, based on the stats, we were better in the first half than we was in the second.
So that means only 4 shots in the second half. That is astounding. That is astounding stat. I say I've watched it back, and I'm sure we had more than that. But as I say, it's a funny old game, isn't it? It's weird what you see and what you interpret.
Yeah, definitely. And the expected goals at the end of the game: Palace 0.66, City 2.37. It was just not our night. And then City have hit the woodwork more times than any other Premier League team so far this season as well, with 18. So we'll move on to the players then, starting with Ederson, of course, in between the sticks. He was on the pitch for 90 minutes, of course. 1 save, 1 out of 1 successful run out, 1 save from inside the box, 30 touches, 89% accurate passes, 5 out of 8 accurate long balls as well. Thoughts on Ederson's performance, Bernard?
Yeah, for the little bit of attack Palace had, he never really was threatened that much, was he? I think I sort of remember the 1 save he made, but he was steady. He was okay in distribution. No problems there. So I think he just had another really easy game. That just reflects the stats we've already looked at.
Yeah. At right back was Kyle Walker. 1 clearance, 1 interception, 1 tackle. He was dribbled past twice. 1 error that led to a shot. 2 out of 5 ground duels were won. 1 out of 3 aerial duels were won. 15 times he lost possession. He was fouled once. 81 touches. 90% accurate passes. 1 key pass. None out of 5 accurate crosses. 3 out of 7 accurate long balls, and none out of 1 successful dribble attempts. Thoughts on Walker's performance, Bernard?
A bit bitty, wasn't he? I think Walker. I think he was far more going up this game than he normally does. I think he was far more zooming up that wing. So whether it's because we were stood on the side and noticed him a bit more because we stood on the side rather than the end, I'm not too sure. But he seemed to be getting up and down a little bit more last night than normal. But a bit bitty. Some iffy things. I think he made a mistake very early doors, didn't he, in the first 10 or 12 minutes or so, which was poor, really poor, and it could have led to a goal for Palace. Same with a guy another one we're going to talk about in a minute, did a similar thing as well. But bitty. It was all right. He got back a couple of times using his pace, and that's what we have him for. But not one of his greatest games, but not a disaster, but not great.
Yeah. And that centre back next to Walker was John Stones. His stats look like this: 2 clearances, 1 blocked shot, 2 interceptions, 1 error that led to a shot. 1 out of 1 ground duels were won. 3 out of 3 aerial duels were won. 6 times he lost possession. 120 touches. 95% accurate passes. 1 key pass. 5 out of 7 accurate long balls. 1 shot blocked and 1 out of 1 successful dribble attempts. Thoughts on Stone's performance, Bernard?
For me, it was almost perfect until that last, was it 92nd minute or something when he fluffed that header, but it sort of bounced really awkwardly, if you notice. So I think he was a bit stuck as to where to edit, try and get it back to Ederson or edit out, because it sort of spun back on him, so he totally misjudged it, but probably reasonable. But I thought he had a great game. I thought even going forward as well, I think he had a shot or two, didn't he, that certainly give us an opportunity. I thought, personally, we'll do man of the match, but I personally thought he was definitely one of our best players on the night, and there wasn't many standouts, of course, last night. But I thought Stones was excellent, and this is a player who, if Diaz was fit, Pep probably wouldn't be playing. So it says it all really for me. He should play every game, and I think he was excellent last night.
Yeah, definitely. And next to him was Emerick Laporte. He said his stats were 4 clearances, 3 interceptions, 2 out of 2 ground duels were won, 6 out of 6 aerial duels were won, 10 times he lost possession, 140 touches, 92% accurate passes, 7 out of 11 accurate long balls, 2 shots off target, 2 out of 2 successful dribble attempts, and 2 big chances missed. How do you think Laporte played, Bernard?
No, similar to Walker, he lost that ball on the halfway line very early, didn't he? Again, which could have easily led to a goal with a bit of better finishing. And he just lacks. There's always a mistake or two in him when he's the last man. And if you're the last man and make a mistake, and that's why he got sent off against this lot at the Etihad, of course, back when we lost 2-0. That was his. He got caught and he fouled obviously Zaha, I think he was at the time. But he just got caught again. He just concentration. When he's the last man, he has to be better than that. But yes, apart from that, he played okay. He was all right after that going forward. But again, I can't forgive him. I'm sorry, I can't forgive him. I know he's not a striker. I know he's not even a midfielder. I know he's a defender. But he had 2 great chances. He had that one that he blasted over the KDB at the post with, which a little bit can't. I mean, he's a footballer. Footballers should be able to control a ball, or actually put a ball on target. I'm sorry, and he just absolutely wellied that over. That wasn't good enough for me. And at the end, when he had the header, he had a free header. He wasn't under any real pressure. He could time it perfectly. And this was like the 89th minute, 90th minute.
Yeah.
And he had a chance to done what he's done it before. He scored a last-minute goal for City before. He had the chance to do that, and he just fluffed his head and just headed it against the back of the Palace player, and obviously the keeper collected it easily. But so yeah, for that, I was, as I said, he did some good stuff, but there's an error that led to a goal, and he had 2 great chances. And sorry, at this level, even for a defender, he's got to be doing better, in my opinion.
Yeah. And at left back was João Cancelo. His stats look like this: 5 tackles. He was dribbled past twice. 9 out of 16 ground duels were won. 5 out of 6 aerial duels were won. 27 times he lost possession. 1 foul. He was fouled once. 128 touches. 79% accurate passes. 2 key passes. 1 out of 3 accurate crosses. 3 out of 6 accurate long balls. 1 shot off target. 3 out of 7 successful dribble attempts, and he hit the woodwork once. Thoughts on Cancelo's performance, Bernard?
Yeah, great strike that hit the woodwork. But again, Cancelo's just so annoying. I mean, some of these passes, some of his crosses just don't, just overhit or underhit all the time. And all right, KDB can underhit and overhit stuff. So perhaps I'm being a bit unfair. But again, for everything, one thing you did good, obviously he probably undid it by doing something poor, but at least he's having a go. At least he's doing things and working hard and trying to make things happen, which is all we can really ask. I mean, no player's perfect, and he is doing his best. As I said, he comes so close to a goal. Probably came close to a couple of assists. Did one of his outside of the foot passes. I remember at one stage that was brilliant, but so frustrating. It's so frustrating because he does so much well, and then other times he can lapse and look really, really angry by what he does. He makes a total rick of something. But is that it? Is that what we're going to get from Cancelo for however many years we're here, or is he going to improve or change? I'm not too sure. So we're probably ahead of a few years frustration with Cancelo, I think.
Yeah. Into the midfield then. First up, Rodri. His stats look like this: 140 touches, 84% accurate passes, 10 out of 16 accurate long balls, 1 shot off target, 1 shot block, 1 out of 1 successful dribble attempts, 5 out of 11 ground duels were won, 5 out of 5 aerial duels were won. 21 times he lost possession, 3 fouls, 1 clearance, 1 interception, 4 tackles, and he was dribbled past twice as well. Thoughts on Rodri's performance, Bernard?
Oh, I have to be careful with Rodri. I get told off, but I thought it was okay. I thought Rodri was fine. I thought doing the simple stuff, but there's no buzzes. There's nothing special. There's nothing special about Rodri. Certainly in a game like last night, he just does the normal. Say he did 10 passes, probably 8 or 9 went backwards, and that's what Rodri does. But at least he passes it to one of ours. He didn't get caught out much. But again, I thought if Pep was going to make a substitution, I would have took Rodri off, put Werner on because of the effect he was having on the game. With about 60, 65 minutes, just stick Werner on. I know it sounds a bit daft, but stick Werner on, who was quite capable from defence, sort of sending one of those balls out to actually create an attack and a goal. And Rodri can't do that. He can't get anywhere near it. And I would have put Werner on probably and Sterling on if I had to. But as I said, I did. That's on reflection because at the time I thought, well, they're never going to do it. And then I thought, no, Rodri didn't do anything. Bring Werner on. That'll mix it up a little bit. It'll change the dynamic in a little way. And just take a chance. And obviously we didn't. Pep didn't take any chances. He stuck with what we had. But Rodri was okay, but again, he was okay. That's all we can say. And that's all we can say about Rodri, as most of the players last night.
Yeah. Big Morgan has said, get your boots on, Bernard. We need you now. And he's also said, Cancelo can't tackle. Yeah,
well, we know that. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. He's going to totally frustrate us for however many years he's going to be there, as long as Pep's there. Because if Pep's not there, Cancelo might be struggling to get a game because someone might not fancy him.
Yeah. Into the other midfielders then. First up, Kevin De Bruyne. 74 touches, 83% accurate passes, 4 key passes, 2 out of 6 accurate crosses, 1 out of 3 accurate long balls, 1 big chance created, 2 shots on target, 2 out of 3 successful dribble attempts, 3 out of 11 ground duels were won, 1 out of 2 aerial duels were won, 19 times he lost possession, 3 fouls, he was fouled once, 1 offside, and he was dribbled past 3 times as well. Thoughts on De Bruyne's performance, Bernard?
I think he played pretty well. We could have done with a little bit of magic, like we could have done from him, or Foden or Bernardo, Mahrez. We just needed that one little bit of magic in the game, didn't we? I was watching the game back, and the commentators kept saying about, we'll see what champions are made of, and these are the sort of games where you nick one, don't you? And that's what champions do. Unfortunately, we didn't. We didn't nick one. We came very, very close. And KDB was at the centre of most of the good things we did. Hit that one that hit the post was a shame. It's a great shot, but he worked really hard, and I could see him getting frustrated with other players, and that's a bit of a worry from a team point of view. If you start showing your frustration and having a go at other, that some players will take it, some players will get a bit frustrated back, and KDB's not perfect by any means. Is he going to get whinged at when he doesn't do something quite right? And that's what he's doing. A little bit of his toys out of the pram at stages last night, which I don't like to see, but that's KDB's temperament, and it is for the quality we get. We have to put up with it, but obviously it will have effects on other players as well. If he starts being critical and saying you're not good, in the same way Ronaldo probably upsets United players by, saying they're not good enough or whatever. He won't say it publicly, but by his actions, you can see he's not impressed. And that's a bit of a negative for me, but that's KDB, I suppose. But, as long as he pulls games round for us, I can have it. But if he's not pulling games round for us, then no, I'm sorry. It's, you're just as much to blame, mate. So just be a little bit careful on your criticism on and off the pitch.
Yeah. Next up is Bernardo Silva. His stats look like this: 76 touches, 87% accurate passes, 2 key passes, 1 out of 1 accurate crosses, none out of 2 accurate long balls, 2 shots off target, 1 out of 2 successful dribble attempts, 2 big chances created. 1 out of 6 ground duels were won, none out of 1 aerial duels were won, 17 times he lost possession, 2 fouls, 1 interception, and he was dribbled past once as well. Thoughts on Bernardo's performance, Bernard?
Well, strangely enough, he got my lowest mark yesterday of all the City players, and he did work hard. He played very, very well. I watched it back. He played some nice stuff, but he had 3. I thought he had 2. good chances. He had 3. There was another one that I'd missed. I watched, got on playback. Obviously, that one where he just didn't hit it first time off that when Goyota, whatever he's called, fluffed it. He should have had that in. He should have just stroked it with his left foot. Why he wanted to take it round him, I have no idea. That was poor. The one with Grealish that we know about, where I thought he'd missed it totally, but obviously he did get a foot. He did get his foot on it, but he just didn't guide it inside the post. He guided it 3 or 4 yards wide, which from 6 yards out takes some doing. All right, the goalkeeper was there, but I mean, he went for it and missed it. And there was another one that Grealish played it across. I don't know what half. It might have been the first half. I'm not too sure. And just totally missed it. He could have just side-footed it and wellied it. We've seen how he can score goals, and he totally missed it. I think it fell to Mahrez, but he had the first opportunity, and it looked easy for him just to place it in the net, and he didn't. He missed. So there's 3 chances. So although he worked very, very hard, and when it comes to it, I mean, I love Bernardo to death, but I thought he let us down last night. We just needed one of those chances to go in. He's not perfect, of course he's not, but if you get 3 half chances, you should make a better fist of it for me. And I thought on the night he was our worst player.
Yeah, simple as that. We got a few quotes here from Bernardo. He said, "Still a long way to go. Still better to be in our position than Liverpool, and they still have to play in our stadium." Would you agree with that? Is it better to be where we are for us currently?
Yeah, you got to be positive, mate. I mean, you can only be positive. You got to be glass half full. There's no point in being negative until there's a reason to be negative. And for me, we could have easily got 0 points last night. The way it went, they could have easily nicked one, and that would have been their game plan to the full, because that's what they wanted to do. They were happy with the draw, but they nicked one, great, and they very nearly did. So we have to be happy with a point in the same way we would have been perhaps been happy with a point against Tottenham when we blew that. We blew that one. We should have just gone for the point, and we didn't. We'd be 5 points clear now if we hadn't sort of tried to win a game that perhaps was unwinnable because we just weren't playing well enough. So, yeah, he's got to be positive. And, yeah, of course it is. As I said, if we're as positive after the Burnley-Liverpool game, great, because that'll mean we've done something. But if you start spouting that after we don't, either get beat by Burnley or draw and lose to Liverpool, then he's talking a bit daft. But, hey, you've got to stay positive. That's what football's all about. It's no good having your head down. You just got to get on with it. So, yeah, he speaks a good game, which is what you would expect.
Yeah. He also said, we wanted to win, have a 6-point advantage, 4 points, Liverpool versus Arsenal. We rest to play Southampton in the FA Cup, 9 games to go, very difficult fixtures ahead. We're going to be there, fight as usual for the Premier League title. He also said, we actually played well and controlled the game. Apart from 1 or 2 times we lost possession and they counter-attacked, they didn't create much. We were actually good, but unfortunately we couldn't score. A very frustrating game. Do you agree with that comment, Bernard?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is with City is that, as I said, I'm a bit worried that Peps isolating certain players now, and they're thinking they're not good enough. So for these 9 games plus cup games plus Champions League games, we need the bare minimum 16, 17 players which we've got in the squad. We need them all to think that they're capable of doing a job. And I'm just worried based on last night that certain players, obviously behind the scenes, Pep might be putting his arm around these players and saying the right things to them. We don't know, do we? We just see what goes on the pitch. But it does worry me. I do, as you know, I like to look at the mental preparation, the psychological side of things. And as a player, I have to think that the guys on the bench last night, the first team guys, these Jesuses and your Gundigans, going forward, perhaps have lost a little bit of their, a little bit of how they feel, a little bit of their confidence. So obviously the guys playing have got the confidence, Bernardo, but it's just a matter of keeping that squad together for those 9 games. It's easy saying it, but behind the scenes, obviously, as I said, it might all be hunky-dory, and obviously the players are dead chuffed and happy, and we'll see them all laughing and smiling in training and stuff. But yeah, I think it has an effect, but I think Bernardo's just come out as the sort of spokesman to try and G everyone up, which is fair enough.
Yeah. He also said, always the first 24 hours after dropping points, you're frustrated, a bit disappointed. Then you move on to the next one. We're still feeling a little frustrated about the game, but the team is doing well, behaving well, for working very hard on the pitch. And he also said it was just a small difference between centimetres scoring and not scoring. One example being Cancelo hitting the post in the first half, on to the next one. So we'll move on to Riyad Mahrez then. His stats look like this. 2 shots on target, 2 shots off target, 80 touches, 79% accurate passes, 1 out of 3 accurate crosses, 1 out of 1 accurate long balls, 3 out of 7 ground duels were won, 1 out of 2 aerial duels were won, 18 times he lost possession, he was fouled once, 2 tackles, and he was dribbled past 3 times as well. Thoughts on Mahrez's performance, Bernard?
Yeah, to a lesser extent with Bernardo. Mahrez just didn't have his shooting boots on, did he? He had at least 3 good chances that went high and well wide, or high and just wide, or so. He could have done better on the day. I thought he played okay. I thought it was fine, but as I said, he just that little, he was taking those balls down that had been spread to him from distance. I think there's only one he missed control and went out from a throw in that I saw. The rest of the time, superb control. Just not perhaps quick enough to get it in the box and get it to someone to cause problems. But obviously, I think Palace always had men back when he was doing that anyway, because a lot of those balls are coming over. I mean, you've got like 4 or 5 seconds for players to get back in position, to get all your players back by the time it arrives and Mahrez controls it. It can have a player on him and 3 or 4 behind him. So it is difficult, but on another day with his shooting boots on, again, he could have got one magical goal for us, which would have probably won it, but not last night.
Yeah. Next up then is Jack Grealish. His stats look like this. 2 shots blocked, 3 out of 5 successful dribble attempts, 50 touches, 84% accurate passes, 3 key passes, 2 out of 3 accurate long balls, 1 big chance created, 5 out of 10 ground duels were won, 12 times he lost possession, 2 fouls. He was fouled once, 1 offside, 1 interception, and 1 tackle as well. Thoughts on Grealish's performance, Bernard?
I thought it was, again, up there with John Stones. Not quite as good, perhaps, but I thought he's one of our best players on the pitch. He never stopped. He was always a nuisance. I was looking at Stuart Brennan's ratings in the MEN. He said he did nothing the first half. I'd have to disagree with that. I thought he was okay, and watching it back, he was fine. He didn't have any real goal-scoring chances, but he was setting things up all over the place. He even came over to the right-hand side as well and did things. I mean, that one for Bernardo where he whipped it, and he couldn't do much more. He don't put it across the 6-yard box where the goalie can't get to it, and the City players there. What more can he do? I just thought he was one of our best players on a pretty average night overall. But I say we didn't play that badly, and I thought Jack Grealish played really well. Stuff just didn't come off, and I think Palace had a lot of trouble hanging on to him. I say he didn't do anything not to impress me last night, and I certainly think he probably put up a better show than Sterling would have done if he'd have been playing. It's a bit unfair on Sterling. He might have had a stormer, but no, I don't think Grealish did too much wrong last night.
No, definitely not. And then the final player, seeing as though we made no subs, Phil Foden. 2 shots blocked, 2 out of 2 successful dribble attempts, 25 touches, 81% accurate passes, 1 out of 1 accurate crosses, 3 out of 6 ground duels were won, none out of 2 aerial duels were won, 6 times he lost possession, he was fouled once, 1 offside, and he was dribbled past once as well. Thoughts on Foden's performance, Bernard?
Yeah, I think that heat map sums it up. Really, I don't think he was really at it when he did get a chance. He was okay, he was fine. But again, he's another player that if he's having a quiet game, we just want him to pop in something wonderful, don't we? And again, we have 4 or 5 players who are quite capable of it. But Foden didn't. He was perhaps the least proactive of our guys. Scoring chances, creating things. And it was there. He was there, but it wasn't one of his better games.
Yeah, definitely. Big Morgan has said Grealish was patchy, Bernard. Get new specs. So he disagrees with you
They
there.
were all patchy, but I mean, Grealish was patchy in a good way. I thought. I say he very rarely loses it. I don't think, and he doesn't always. But it's just a nuisance. And they say if City players had performed a little bit better, he might have had a couple of assists.
Yeah. We'll go to Pep then. Why did he make no subs? Do you think he should have?
As I said, it's a hindsight thing, isn't it? As at the game watching it, I would say why, and then obviously on the coach coming home, I had 5.5 hours to think about this, and I was just wondering why. Just Rodri was doing sod all in that second half. So if a player's doing sod all, you've got the ideal replacement who might actually create something. Might even score a goal. I know he's not been scoring many when I've played recently, but Fernand's the ideal guy. He's not going to do any harm to the flow of the game. If anything, he'll improve it, and that's what substitution should do, change it up. So, yeah, and but hindsight's wonderful. But as I said, I don't. But even at the game, I might have even thought that. But I was so depressed, so frustrated watching us bang against that door trying to score a goal. I wasn't thinking too much about who we could bring on. I just wanted us to score a flipping goal. I didn't care less what Pep did. But as you say, when you get a chance to think about it, yeah. But Pep's right in a way, but he's wrong, if you know what I mean. He's probably correct. He shouldn't have. The flow was okay. We were doing very well. We just weren't. Although the stats say we didn't do very well in the second half, we had a lot of possession and knocking it about, but we didn't have many chances. And obviously, we're not getting many chances. Perhaps Pep should have changed it up a little bit, again in hindsight. But say at the game, you think we're doing enough and that a goal will come at some stage, amidst it all. And that's what we thought. That's what I continually thought our second half. I dreaded them nicking one, but I seriously thought, well, we would get a chance. We would score even up to the 90th minute. We'll get one more chance. We might score. So probably how Pep felt. And as I said, I'm more worried about the confidence of the guys that he didn't bring on rather than the fact he didn't make substitutions, whether they'll think that if Pep doesn't bring me on, am I good enough? And that's the only effect I think. And yeah, as I said, Pep was right, but probably he wasn't. It's hard. I say I can fully understand people saying why the hell didn't you bring anyone on? I fully understand why, and I can fully understand why he didn't.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a few quotes here from Pep, of course. He said on not making subs, he thought about it, but the guys who were playing good. The game was in a high rhythm. He also said, we played a really good game. In 90 minutes, we concede mistakes a little, but the way we played was really good. Look, that doesn't exist in football. We have to score, and we didn't. We played to score goals and concede few. We struggled a little bit. Do you agree with that comment, Bernard?
Yeah, as I say, I think he's right. I sort of laughed when I did my little review today about saying they played fairly well. But having watched the game back and thought on it, he's probably correct. It just, say a couple of as Bernardo said, a couple of centimetres either side, and those shots are in the goal, and it's a totally different ball game. You probably would have won 2 or 3-0 or something like that. But yeah, he's probably right. But obviously, you've got to look at these rebounds and think as well that we had chances. Not only did we hit the post a couple of times, I think did we hit the crossbar as well? I think they were saying I can't remember that one. But not only did we hit the post, but the ball actually rebounded to City players. Now you imagine Cancelo hitting a shot from 35 yards, was it? He was miles out, wasn't he, when he hit his shot?
That, yeah.
You imagine him. Who's going to be in the box? We should have a striker to sniff it in, shouldn't we? But we haven't. We got defenders and midfielders. If we had a striker or two, I know we harp on about this, but and Pep knows if we had someone a bit more instinctive, those ricochets off those bounces off the post, they'll be going in the net. Those rebounds will be going in the net, and that's where we're missing out at the moment because we don't have someone who has the nous to work around the box, and we just don't have that, unfortunately, with our guys. And games like last night is where it comes home to roost, and fortunately there's not many of them, but unfortunately we seem to suffer because that other team down the East Lancs, sort of on, in great form, and we can't afford just to have these off days so much, because we know they're breathing down our necks. So yeah, he's right, and I think he probably knows that we're missing something. But what can he say? He can only use what we've got. We can't change it at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely not. Big Morgan says Delap is required. Do you agree with that, Bernard?
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember saying at the start of the season, obviously when these hints of Haaland and Delap was on the border of the game, on the fringes of playing, I thought he'd start playing a few games, might have been cup games or coming on as sub, but then he had the injury, and I think since the injury, he's just gone out. Peps so sort of one way now in how he wants the team to play, that I don't think he's willing to take that chance anymore. And I think he would have been at the start of the season. I think Delap would have seen a lot. If he'd stayed fit, I think we would have seen a lot more minutes. And then if he'd done well, we might have seen even more minutes. But as I say, with Delap, for me, he was the ideal guy to stick in there on the basis that we were going to get someone like Haaland or the Kane, and that was the ideal, because obviously if you get Harry Kane or Haaland, you want someone at the start of the season. We didn't know about this Argentinian lad, of course. You need someone as cover as well, because unless you're going to totally change your style of play all the time. So he would have been perfect as cover, and he would have been perfect to get a few minutes in to see if we could change a little system, just adapt the system a little bit for when we did get a striker. But it didn't happen, and that's a problem with Delap. And obviously, it's a little bit too late in the season now to be experimenting. It's far too late in the season now to stick Delap up there and hope, unless it's the last game of the season, we need a win. We need to score a goal in the last 5 minutes, and we want to put some crosses in or something. But even then, he probably wouldn't do it. So we probably won't. We certainly won't see much of him now, I don't think, this season. But see what happens in the summer. Then we might see a bit more of him again next season, depending how the team changes.
Yeah. He also said we didn't score. That was the mistake. The team that was there today was there before, and that will be there in the next game. I'm very pleased with the performance and the way we played. As you said before, Bernard, with the subs who aren't really coming on, it's just shown there again. Will it be the exact same 11 for Southampton, or are you expecting some changes in that game?
Well, I've ended up with 3 teams. I ended up with a team I think would win it, a team I think Pep might play because players haven't been playing, and a team that Pep just will play anyway, just for the sheer hell of it. And I think the first one I had was basically the same team as this. Obviously, we've got an international break coming up, where everyone's fit, and actually stick Further in instead of Rodri. And obviously, if Stefan's fit, obviously he's going to stick Stefan in. So that was basically my team. But I don't think that'll be the team by any means, because I think Gundogan and Sterling and all these guys will come back in. The guys who were on the bench, I think most of them will come back in for this Southampton game. But the trouble is, make too many changes, we're going to struggle. We need to be at it. And I think this 11 we played against Palace, if they played against, or the bulk of them played against Southampton, they'll be more up for it, because obviously it was disappointing. It was disappointing against Palace. So if he makes too many changes, we'll lose that impetus, and I think it could be another slow grind, which we don't need against Southampton, and especially if they go a goal up like they did last time, it'll just be a nightmare. It'll be just more of the Palace sort of thing. So yeah, it'd be interesting. As I said, it could be a very similar team. It could be 6 or 7 changes. I just don't know what Pep's going to do. It's important for us as fans, this FA Cup. Pep said it's important. For me, I'd play our strongest team. And at the moment, that team that played against Palace is our strongest team. Just a couple of little tweaks to it. That's what I'd play. But I don't think Pep will do that, because, as I said, these other guys on the bench, they're getting a bit left out at the moment. So Pep also has to look at the minds of his players, and hopefully would give people like Jesus, who's not done too much wrong. Don't get me wrong, he's had an in and out season, not particularly because of injuries, etc. And the same with Gundogan. What's Gundogan done wrong? So I expect 5 or 6 changes, but I would prefer more or less the same 11, because he will want to make up for this Palace game. But we'll see. We'll see an hour before kickoff. But it'll be interesting to see what team he does put out.
Yeah, definitely. And the next quote from Pep on the title race, he says, 9 games still, many games to play. We have to win a lot of games. The way we play, no regrets about the team. We prefer to win, but the game was great. Um, he's, it wasn't great at all. Is
I
he
think it's
just
his
saying
English.
that?
Sometimes it's his English, mate. Innit? I think
Yeah,
he's trying to say, yeah, it was. If we'd scored one goal, everyone would be happy. If we'd just put one of those goals, even a 1-0 win, because it was said that's what champions do. You know, you get the same, same things coming out, don't you? That's why we're champions. You know, you win 1-0 in the 92nd minute or something like that, and it would have been total players' ratings would have been higher for everybody and all this sort of thing. But it is easy to say that. But on the day, you only need one player. You only need one player to do something magical in a game like that against Palace. Unfortunately, we didn't have one player who did anything magical, and we have got players who are capable of it. But on the day, none of them came up with that just one thing we needed. So, yeah, it's I can understand Pep defending his players and the fact that I think yes, we did play. Actually, we didn't play that bad. It's just unfortunately, we've just run out of luck. You need a little bit of luck. We didn't get any luck. We didn't need any VAR help or anything like that. We just didn't get any luck on the night, and we should have won it, and we didn't. And we have to move on, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. Big up Static in the chat as well. Hope you're well, mate. Pep also said we created more, conceded few. We played amazing in a difficult stadium with the grass not perfect. We did a good game.
I assume the grass thing is just a bit of a Mickey take, is it? I'm sure he didn't mean that. I'm sure he's just having a go at Klopp, is he? I'm sure he didn't mean that at all. It's not his sort of style. I did look at the pitch on the telly when I was looking it back today. It looked all right while I was there, but when I was looking at the pitch on the TV, it looked a bit iffy. It looked a bit barren. It looked a bit bare, actually. Yeah, it looked fine while I was there, when we were there. So I'm sure he was just getting a Klopp, wasn't he, Charlie? He wasn't really going on about the grass, was he? What do you think?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
It's hard to tell whether he's been. I watched it actually. I watched that. So someone put it up on social media. So I just watched that little section, 15, 20 seconds. And it didn't look as though it was tongue in cheek, but I hope he was, because we don't need that rubbish. We get enough from him down the road, don't we? We don't need him. You don't need Pep coming out with the grass was too long or stuff like that. It's churlish, because at the end of the day, it didn't. I thought I said we played pretty well. We just couldn't put it in the net, so I don't think the grass had anything to do with it, really.
No. The next comment, we've seen that already. We've seen that already as well. So we'll go to Crystal Palace then. How do you think they played, Bernard?
I'm sure they could play more expansive. I mean, we'll probably talk about the fans, won't we? But in the same way, when City were rubbish, the best fun we had at a game when City were rubbish was the fans having fun, and that's what we did, because City were so bad. We enjoyed ourselves. And that's probably part and parcel when Palace are playing like they did last night. All right, they had a couple of good chances. They did okay, but when they're playing that sort of time waste and all that sort of thing, all you've got is yourselves to keep yourself entertained. And that's probably why the atmosphere is great, because they're just keeping themselves entertained in the same way. Main Road could have been bouncing in the old days when we were rubbish, and Palace is bouncing because they're pretty rubbish as well, based on what I saw last night. I wasn't impressed with Palace. I'm not, I wouldn't want to see Vieira anywhere near City in the future if that's his idea of football. So he's got some good players there. He's got some players who need a good slap, like Gallagher, who's got a lot of talent, but is a bit of, I saw him keep his, put his foot in a couple of times as well. He needs sorting out, because he's not a bad player, but he's got an edge to him as well. So, yeah, it's a shame, because, I sort of quite like Vieira. He didn't spend that much time with us, but last night was just, you play with what you've got, I suppose, and obviously that's the level he plays at because of the team he's got. Fair enough, but I wasn't overly impressed with Palace. I don't think, they won we drew his City Cup, we beat City Cup, of course, and the fans celebrated, which is what you expect. That's what you expect from these lower ranking teams. And I'm sorry, Palace, you are. It's the same in the same way someone like Swindon or Peterborough would have celebrated doing it. Palace are just at the same level, unfortunately, and I don't see a vast improvement. with Vieira yet. Hopefully, after a year or two, he might improve the team and start playing a lot better football. But I wasn't overly impressed with what I saw from Palace last night.
Yeah, definitely not. Big up Luca in the chat as well. So next up is the referee, Martin Atkinson. How do you think he did, Bernard?
Useless, mate. Absolutely useless. I think we said off air. I mean, this time wasting. It's not just Atkinson. I mean, Atkinson is rubbish, but I mean, it's no good pointing to your watch. I mean, that instance where Bernardo should have scored when Grealish passed it through. 2 players went down in different parts of the pitch, if you remember, Palace players. Yeah. And I think it was 2 minutes 40 seconds before from that ball going out for a goal from Bernardo missing it to the game restarting. That was just one incident in that second half, and we had 5 minutes injury time. So it's no good pointing to the watch, Atkinson, or all these other referees if you're not actually going to do anything about it. I mean, if that ball was in play 55 minutes last night, I'd be very surprised. I know Villa have got a bad reputation, haven't they? I think they're the worst, aren't they, for having the ball in play in a game. But I don't think Palace. I think Palace were quite rubbishy at it last night, and I wouldn't surprised it was in play 60 minutes. So Atkinson, as generally a referee, all the 50-50s went their way, which is fair enough. They're the so-called weaker team. You expect a little bit of bias from referees. We're all human after all, so that's okay. But don't say you're going to do something if you don't do it. It's as simple as that. Don't say you're going to have enough time. And there should have been at least 7 or 8 minutes added. Not that we would have scored and they could have scored one. It wouldn't have made a lot of difference. But it's just the whole point of it. And VAR didn't have to get involved last night, which is great. I'm glad they didn't have to get involved. But Atkinson, he's just so inconsistent. He'll give stuff for them that they don't deserve. And we got the odd thing, of course, as you would do, but they're all much of nothingness, aren't
they? Yeah. Next up then, the fans. Another sold-out away day, of course. Monday night, great support once again.
Yeah, I mean, City fans are fine. I mean, this is the first time I've ever been to Palace, and obviously I've seen them on the telly. They were very good. They went quiet a bit when City were in the ascendancy, and that's the problem. If City had gone a goal or 2 up, they would have been a lot quieter. But, they have the drum. We know they're no good without the drum, because when they come to the Etihad, if you don't have the drum, they're not very good as away supporters at the Etihad. So, but they've got the drum. They get the old stadium rocking at times, which is great with the stuff. I was quite impressed. Certainly probably the best atmosphere in a away ground I've been to for since I've been going again recently. So, yeah, all credit to him. But I think if we'd gone 1 or 2 goals up, it wouldn't have been like that. It's only because we sort of let them off the hook a little bit. City fans were fine. We were okay. Started to go a bit quiet in the second half when it started to get a bit nervy, which we're bound to. Start getting a bit nervous towards the end. And frustrated, as well as the players. The players were frustrated. The fans were frustrated. So we were okay. Not our best, but then again, a 0-0 draw like that. Sometimes the fans need something to feed off as well. The Palace fans fed off the fact they were keeping us out, and Palace kept having the odd attack. Unfortunately, we just didn't feed off anything, because that second half, particularly, based on the stats, we had a lot of possession, but we didn't really pummel them like we did the first half. So it's no wonder the City fans went a little bit quieter the second half. But all credit to Palace fans. I'll give them credit. They did very well for their team last night.
Yeah. So we got man of the match next up. Who are you giving that to?
I'm going to give it Stones, not for anything fantastic. I just thought, under the circumstances, I just thought he was our best player. A lot of players could have been the man of the match if they turned one of the chances into a goal. Bernardo could have been the man of the match if he just put one of his chances away. I thought Grealish came very close for me, even though he didn't actually. A lot of people don't rate him. This Big Morgan out, he's still out there. But I thought he came close as well. But I would give it Stones on the basis that he shouldn't, if it was left up to Pep and we had a full squad, he probably wouldn't even be playing. So I'm going to give Stones, because I thought he had a great game. And I'll just skirt over that little error he made in the 89th minute, because I thought he got caught out by a really weird bounce on the ball. And it wasn't particularly his fault. He was left where he had to try and get some power behind the header, and it sort of spun back on him, and he couldn't do it. So, you can't account for things like that. So he was my man of the match. Who was yours? Who do you think?
Yeah, I reckon Stones is up there, to be honest. No one played
No,
outstanding.
I mean, it's one of those games where I wouldn't perhaps normally give one, but I just thought, oh, yeah, I'll give it Stones just because I did think he played very, very well during the game. And he sort of, sometimes I think he carries Laporte more in the same way Diaz perhaps carries players next to him. I think Stones does that a little bit. Laporte's classy, of course he is, but you can always rely on Stones more than Laporte, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Big Morgan says Atkinson's a clown. Bargav has said, is the drum band away from home for Palace?
Well, I don't let the sporting fans have the drumming, didn't they? So I don't know. Perhaps the guy who has the drum doesn't have enough points to get to away games. But Palace very rarely sell out away ends, so I don't know how that works with Palace. But I certainly don't think they have it. I'm sure they've not had it at the Etihad, Charlie. I don't think they've had the drum with them when they've been at the Etihad. So perhaps it's screwed in. Screwed into the stands. They can't take it with them. So
yeah, potentially. And Big Morgan says Stones was cool as well. So we'll look at the Premier League table then. 4 points clear. Liverpool have played a game less. Palace, they're basically on the beach already. They're not going down. 12 points clear of Watford. They're not getting Europe. They're 10 points behind Wolves, who are in 7th at the minute. So they may as well just go to Dubai now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's how they play. I mean, you've got, as Pep was saying, I mean, I disagree with some of these things. These teams that are at the bottom, they're saying they're fighting for their lives. A lot of these teams at the bottom, they're at the bottom for a reason. It's because they're rubbish, and they might be fighting for their lives, but they're still rubbish. You don't make them a better team because you're fighting for your life. You're just rubbish. It's as simple as that. But certainly teams in mid-table can turn it on and off if they want. You know, they can decide if they want to play a game or they don't want to play a game. And I think it's tougher playing against those teams like Palace, perhaps, than it is against someone like Leeds or Everton at the bottom who are struggling. I think it goes against what everyone else says. That's my opinion. I might be totally wrong, but I think it's rubbish. And obviously, if you're playing teams going for the top four, yes, then they are good because they're up near the top four, so they will be difficult games. But yeah, as I said, Palace, the next game they play, probably get well beaten. You know, so that's how it'll be. And as I say, I don't think they had a great record coming into this before they played us, but you can lift your game for one match or two. And as you say, they've no real problems going forward. They're reasonably safe. So yeah, for me, that's a game where they've nothing to lose. In the same way, Southampton this week, they can go for it, can't they? And bore us to death and hopefully get through on penalties or something like that. That's what they'll try and do, and that's what it is these days.
Yeah. So Palace are now unbeaten in the last 5. That's including draws against Burnley and us, of course. They beat Wolves away, which is quite a good result.
Yeah, that's a good result. Yeah, but then again, didn't. I'm trying to think who else beat Wolves recently. Someone else beat them that was not very good either. So Wolves are inconsistent, aren't they? I think they've drawn a lot of games this season, haven't they? From memory, I think Palace is sort of quite good on the draws, which is so that's why they were quite happy. That's why the fans probably celebrated. They're used to them drawing. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Well, next up, they've got Everton in the FA Cup, but in the league they've got Arsenal. So that's not an easy game.
Is that Arsenal or Palace?
That's at Palace.
Yeah, well, that's what I'll say. But yeah, Arsenal are another team, aren't they? They'll probably roll over and have the tummies rubbed by Liverpool on Wednesday. And then they might get something at Palace because they don't play too bad. But there's a lot of in and out teams in that division. There's a lot of even up to the top 6 or 7. There's a lot of teams that you just so inconsistent. It's fairly unbelievable. Well, not unbelievable, but you know what I mean. You know, they just say you can play a team like Palace and you think, oh, there's 3 points, but they can suddenly get a point out of it or a win. It's how the Premier League is. It's probably has always been like that, apart from a few years back when it was obviously 2 or 3 teams dominated and the rest used to sort of fight out amongst themselves. But even the good teams now, like Arsenal, they're on a run. But you know, Arteta's perhaps, I don't know if the fans like him now. I don't know. But in another couple of weeks' time, they might hate him again because he might have had a couple of bad results. That's just how it is.
Yeah. And on Sunday afternoon, Southampton away in the FA Cup. How are you feeling for that game?
Yeah, I think I said off air, I don't get, unless it's a semi-final or a final, I don't get that worried. If we get beat at Southampton, I'm going down. If we get beat, I'll be coming, I'll be more worried about having to get up at 2 a.m. to go to work on the Monday than the fact we got beat. That'll be more depressing. But yeah, I don't worry so much with cup games, even Champions League, until we get to the nub of it. If we get through to a semi-final, yes, then I become more nervous. But I can sort of enjoy. The league's too nervy for me, so I can enjoy cup games a little bit more up to a certain stage in it anyway. So I'm just hoping we put up a good show and we have a good day. For the fans have a good day, the 5,000 or so that are making it down there. We even get a stick for that, don't we? We still get a stick for selling out 5,000 tickets from people. I just don't understand what City fans need to do. We still get a stick off other fans because he went on general sale or something. So what? I mean, we had about 4 days to sell them, so they're going to go on general sale at some stage because they're not going to do the points over loads of days because you've got a limited time to sell them. So it just annoys me. It just annoys me. Even got City fans whinging about it. Even got City fans whinging about the fact of it had to go on general sale. What do you want? I don't know, Charlie. It's just pathetic. It just wears you down. But as long as the guys that are there enjoy it, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And yeah, that's it for this game. So we will be back. Should be on Monday. Is it Sunday afternoon, Southampton?
Yeah, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock
Yeah.
kickoff.
Yeah. So we should be back on Monday for this Southampton match reaction. So just before we wrap it up, where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, if you like my stuff, guys, just follow me on Twitter at Bernard_Deneen. I do other little bits and pieces. I've got my own Citizen channel, of course, which is all things City, past, present, and forever, I say. And of course, if you have a rest from football like I do sometimes, it wears me down sometimes watching City, even though we're very good. I do stuff on film and TV as well, so you've got a bit of fun with that. Join me and just follow me through Twitter and follow the links to my YouTube channels. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Cheers for coming on again, mate.
No worries.
So you can find me here, of course, Dugout Daily on YouTube. That's my football channel. Hit the Apex is the F1 channel with the season starting up again this weekend. So there will be content coming out on that. So on Twitter at MCFC Hibs and at FootyAwayFans_. If you can't remember all that, just go to my Twitter at MCFC Hibs. In the pinned tweet, there's links to both channels and both Twitter accounts as well. So everybody, cheers for watching, and we should see you soon for the Southampton match reaction. Take care and goodbye for now, everyone.